We are back once again. We're doing all right. We are doing all right. That's a new intro, Bryan, bro. We say, all right, no intro. We doing all right is the new intro.
Yeah, how about that?
I got some questions for you, sir. You put me on the record last week. You had some fantastic stuff.
I'm going to fire some more questions back at you. Get ready.
Por favor, sir. I got something for you today, and they all got different categories. So let's run it. Let's just go ahead and do this, Bryan Broaddus. Are we better? Watch this. Are we better this year? Right. So look, me saying this year, right? I'm only talking about the 2024 player. I'm not talking about his future outlook, right? We're just talking about this player versus the last year, whoever was in this spot. And I got a couple of these. Okay.
Okay.
Is rookie Cooper Beebe gonna be better than year 5 Tyler Broaddus? I know we huff and puff about Tyler Broaddus. Tyler Broaddus not strong enough, but at the end of the day, Tyler Broaddus has years in his system, years on this team, continuity with the guys around him. He know how to snap. He been playing center since Wisconsin. And there's a lot of comments that I get in my comments in my chat because I'm super excited about Beebe, Bryan Broaddus. I lose my mind about Beebe. Right. But they say, Voch, can you really trust a player that hasn't snapped the football before? Because I played center. Snapping and stepping is different than just stepping in it, you know? So is this year's rookie Cooper Beebe going to be better than a seasoned Tyler Broaddus?
I think initially he will be. Now, how about this? I'm going to turn this around on you right off the jump.
Please.
Is Mike Solari going to allow, and this is something that Jeff Kavanaugh talked about yesterday, is Mike Solari going to be comfortable with 2 rookie offensive linemen with all the things on the line for the Dallas Cowboys and this coaching staff this year?
Honestly, Bryan,
I say that in a way that sometimes these coaches are like, listen, I could play 1 rookie guy, but I got to play 2 and I got to get 2 ready. This is why the Brock Hoffman thing, this is why I sense and they drafted Cooper Beebe for a reason and a good reason. And yes, I think he could absolutely be better than what you had of a year 5 of Tyler Broaddus. Absolutely. I can. He's a better player. He's a more powerful guy. He's more athletic. There's a lot of things, a lot of traits about Cooper Beebe that you absolutely love as a center. I wonder if Mike Solari is going to push so hard for Brock Hoffman just because of like, listen, hey, I got 5 guys to coach. 2 of them are rookies. You really want to go through that? You want to go through 2 rookie players? And maybe it's the pick of who do you like better? Guyton, I think, is going to have to start.
Sure.
I think Guyton is going to have to start. But maybe Mike Solari says, let me see about the center. Just for the reason you said. Snap, step, block, make calls, all those things that you and I did as centers, So we understand that a little bit. I just wonder, I do think he's better to answer your question. Yes. I don't know if the coach is going to allow it right off the jump.
I don't think Solari is going to have much of a choice. Like, we don't feel great about Tyler Guyton, but we don't feel great about Chuma Edoga neither, No,
we don't.
So the difference at center is maybe he does feel good about Brock Hoffman, right?
Right.
But is Brock Hoffman terribly different than what you had in Broaddus? Cooper Beebe is miles away from what you had in Broaddus. He's a totally different dude. He moves people.
Right.
Like, he moves people. And I got this clip pulled up for you, Bryan, because we investigate here, right? You know what I mean? You've educated me. Tyler Smith has some media availability. You just tell me if you can hear this, sir. I'm just about to play this for you.
Okay.
I mean, the biggest thing for me is just being solid at the point of attack. I feel like, a big point of emphasis for us is defending the A and B gaps, and everything kind of starts inside and goes outside. So definitely.
Now, Bryan, I thought that was interesting. We are emphasizing point of attack, and we're focusing on A and B gap working from inside to outside.
Right.
What that sounds like to me, Bryan, is that they want to be real strong in the middle. Okay. Last year, and I'm gonna talk. You're gonna talk about run game in a little bit. Last year, we did a whole bunch of Tony Pollard running up A and B gap when he should have been hitting the perimeter. Right? That's what we saw a lot of last year. We were going, man, why don't we hit Tony Pollard to the outside instead of forcing him up the middle? Maybe they were trying to scheme run game up the middle, but they had personnel to run to the outsides, right? So in my mind, if you want to be a tough, physical, interior running run game, which makes sense now that you got Rico, Dowdle, Zeke, and all those guys, if that's what you want to do, in my mind, you want to be strong at center. You want the more powerful guy at center. So in my mind, maybe they love Brock Hoffman, but what's making sense as a puzzle piece is putting the big, strong, physical dirt people guard at center and surrounding him by the two all pro guards. Like, that's what's making sense to me, Bryan Broaddus.
Yeah, there's when I worked for Jerry Jones, and the last time I sat in a draft room with him was 2005. But I've known Jerry, 14 years of DallasCowboys.com and all that stuff like that. Mm. I know how important the interior of the offensive line is for Jerry Jones. Center, two guards. I understand that. He's all about step up in the pocket, width of the pocket is tackled. Somebody along the way taught him this. Al Davis, John Madden, Barry Switzer. Somebody talked to him about how important it is to have guys in front of your quarterback. And it makes perfect sense. You're right about some of the scheming stuff. They weren't good enough on the edges, though, even though, they really weren't great on the edges, and in the middle, they weren't good either. I mean, they really weren't good in the middle. Yeah. They weren't good at point of attack with the tight ends. Steele wasn't exactly healthy. Tyron Smith gave you some stuff, but they weren't running the ball. They were more of a right-handed team than a left-handed team, I believe. So, that's the things you have to deal with. But this is where I do worry about, and I've lived this, coach influence. That, hey, listen, he might not be the strongest. He might not be the quickest. He might not be, but he knows what to do. Sure. He's not going to make mistakes. He's played games. Coaches will always revert back to things that they have seen themselves. Joe Philbin didn't want to play Tyler Smith. It took an injury to play Tyler Smith, with his situation. So coaches, we can sit here and you're absolutely dead balls on right about why you should play Cooper Beebe at center. And the Cowboys drafted him that way. But then all of a sudden you get a coach, it's like, well, can we really afford? And we'll get out to Oxnard and we'll see how much work. Is this really going to be a competition? I just worry about coaches' influence because of being with Jerry and seeing coaches influence the way that we operated.
Sure.
And maybe things have changed since 2005. That they have. I think a lot of it have changed for a lot better. They draft better. The team wins more games. There's things that they're doing the right way now. But I just worry about that coach influence here on this one.
You were talking about, having to coach the young guy, right?
Yeah.
We may be fired next year, Bryan Broaddus. I ain't got time to be coaching. Let me ask you this, man, because this is a Twitter post I've been making fun of the past month or so. What you think they was talking about, Bryan Broaddus? Mike Solari, Duke Manyweather. I've had conversations with Duke. Duke is a stoic dude. I ain't never seen him thumbs up and smile big like this, Bryan Broaddus. And Zach Martin came out last week and he said, "Yeah, man, I've been working with Duke." So now you got 8 offensive linemen. 8 Cowboy guys working with Duke Manyweather.
Yeah.
Solari can't do everything. But do you think that this was like, hey, man, I can't coach all these young guys, but we need to play them. I can't coach, we can't do so much, but we just got to have something, right? Do you think that this means something? Do you think him coming to Duke could be like, all right, we trying to do this, we trying to do this, we trying to do this, and this is what we're doing, but you teach them. And I'll teach them when we get to camp or whatever.
This is the funny thing is because nowadays coaches never wanted somebody else to coach their guys.
Sure.
I mean, literally back in the day, it's like, well, he's going to a quarterback coach. Mm-hmm. Who is it? Whose bad habits am I going to have to break when we get to California?
Yeah.
So, I think there's a selfish side. I think that Mike Solari understands this. He does see results from work with Duke. He does. He's like, man, okay, yeah. Foot quickness looks a little bit better. Hand placement looks a little better. Body position looks a little bit better. Get off the ball looks a little bit better. You know, those things all you can see. And, you know, but Mike Solari's ego, and I say this in a nice way, I'm not trying to say it's,
Sure.
but he's thinking like, well, this dude's really coaching him up. But he also has to be careful because players trust Duke.
Yeah.
They trust him. They absolutely go to him and get better. And so now Mike Solari is realizing this is not going to change. This is the world that now, this is not Mike Solari 1988 working for Tom Landry with 10, 12 coaches on the staff.
Sure.
This is working with Mike McCarthy with 28 coaches on the staff, it feels like, you know, and I always kind of wonder about that too. Like, okay, the assistant coaches, Blatsko was an offensive line guy. Then he moves over. Then they get a new guy and all that. So I wonder, okay, what the young coaches doing over there? Are they not? I'm sure they're working with these guys, but not like Duke is.
Sure.
And I think Solari is like he probably doesn't like it, but he understands that this is where modern coaching is. That guys are going. Micah Parsons is going somewhere. Do you think the strength coaches at the Cowboys are happy about Micah Parsons working with some guy in Philadelphia or, Austin, Texas, or wherever he goes? No, they want Micah Parsons to work in their building. And so, but that's the day and age we're in. And I think Mike Solari is like me, is kind of like, okay, well, here's analytics, Bryan. Okay, I'll embrace it. I'll study it. I'll learn it. I think Mike Solari has become that guy now, and he understands that Duke is a valuable tool, and that players absolutely trust him, and you don't want your players upset.
Man, if I was an O-line coach, I'd love to have him, Duke. Hey, save my job, man. Because honestly, Joe Philbin,
Duke's great. I mean, he is. There's a lot of great offensive line coaches around the country, and Duke is one of them. And you wonder, like, well, could Duke? If you were a general manager, would you hire Duke as, your guy? Because technique-wise,
sure,
players benefit from being with him. They absolutely do.
Joe Philbin gets all the credit for fixing Terrence Steele. And in real life, Terrence Steele is a hard worker, and he put a lot of time in with Duke. So, hey, it what it is.
See, no, that's the thing about it is Joe Philbin. I will say this about Joe Philbin, because I've thrown a lot of dirt on Terrence Steele over the years.
Yeah.
Literally, like I remember doing several years ago doing a show on the break and coming on and just like, if you're playing with him at right tackle, you're going backwards. And
you wasn't wrong.
Said a lot of really negative things about him.
Yeah.
A ton of negative things.
Yeah.
But then again, I hear the same thing. The same thing I'm hearing now about Brock Hoffman.
Yeah.
Hard worker, comes in early, stays late, studies the game, watches film, takes coaching well. Is Brock Hoffman's, is he going to be the version of, and I've said a lot of critical things about Brock Hoffman, but you know what? They proved it like they have questions about Brock Hoffman too, because they drafted Cooper Beebe.
Sure.
So yeah, it's Duke's done a lot of great things, to your point.
If Brock Hoffman comes out to camp whooping everybody and he's a gangster and he's standing up Osa, I'll take the L. And whenever Zach Martin retires, we'll just put BB at guard and we'll just roll like that.
There you go.
But
or Bass.
Or Bass.
They think that Bass can play right guard better than he can play left guard.
I'm sick of these undrafted dudes, man. Let me ask you this, Bryan. I'm tired of them. Let me ask you this. Let's see. How about this, Bryan Broaddus? 2-part question. How about this?
Sure.
Who will be better, Jalen Tolbert or Jalen Brooks? And then will that person be better than Michael Gallup?
There's a side of me, this is the great discussion that we've all had. And we're all thinking about, Cowboy Nation is thinking about this one. You and I believe that Jake Ferguson is going to be really your second wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Now the question is, who is your third wide receiver.
Yep.
And the question is being asked because have we seen enough growth from Tolbert?
Yeah.
Have we seen, his first year was not good.
Sure.
Second year got a little better. Brooks's first year was better than Tolbert's first year,
100%.
which means you think now, wait a minute, Tolbert going into year 3, Brooks going into year 2. Brooks, he made more. He looked like he made more improvement.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things to really like about Brooks.
Yeah.
The way he runs routes, the way he extends, his toughness,
Length, plays the X. Yeah.
length. Yeah, there's a lot of things to like about him.
Yep.
It would not surprise me one bit if we get to Oxnard and we're sitting there watching practices every day, and especially for the young guys, it's all about consistency. You can't have 3 really good days in Oxnard, then all of a sudden get tired, sore, and then forget what you're doing, and then have 3 bad days. You can't do that. That's why we have these guys that by the end you're like, going, man, this guy might make this team. Why? Because he stacked a bunch of really good days on top of each other while everybody else was crumbling. Tried to say that the right way. Crumbling. This guy was going that way. He was going up. Good day, good day, good day. Man, he's catching balls. Wait, we're playing preseason games. 4 catches, 58 yards. Okay. That's kind of how John Stevens at tight end.
Sure.
That's how John Stevens kind of got everybody's attention at tight end. Good day, good day, good day, And I think the same thing with Brooks. I think Brooks is really mentally tough. I think he's a mentally tough player. And it would not shock me, surprise me if we get to the end of Oxnard and you and I have one of our shows together and we start putting the 53 together and we say, third receiver is Jalen Brooks. Tolbert just didn't do enough to win the third job. He's going to be the fourth, or maybe somebody else steps up. But he's one of these guys, when you and I talked about a lot of pressure on people, Tolbert's got some pressure on him. Sure. Him, Fahoko, just go down the list of McQuamu, all these guys have got pressure on themselves to not be okay, you were here 3 years and thank you very much. Now you can go be part of the Giants practice squad or something like that.
I think, it's a worthwhile question. And, we know that Tolbert's going to be more of the move around guy, but man, you're missing an X receiver. You're missing an X receiver. And look, honestly, they're fighting for wide receiver 4 because Cooks is wide receiver 3. But let me ask you this: so let's just say Brooks, right? Let's just say Brooks beats Tolbert. Is Brooks gonna be better than Michael Gallup? Not that prime fella that's jumping over everybody, running past people, running over people. I'm talking about the cat that was recovering from the ACL that's a Raider now. Like last year's Michael Gallup. Is he better?
Yeah, he will be better.
Yeah.
He will be better. Because just for what I talked about, Gallup had things that he was dealing with through the season.
Yeah.
He was dealing off the field stuff that he tried to mask. It just was hard for him to mask. And then he was recovering from injury, and there was a lack of confidence with him too. I remember talking to some people in the organization, remember when he came back from the knee injury, he didn't play the Giants game, the opening game against the Giants. He just wasn't mentally ready to go. They thought, well, let's get him ready for week 2 and get him going.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, I think Brooks could, whoever emerges as that next guy, has got a real shot of being better because, like we said, they were consistent, they were mentally tough, they fought through things, and they're ready for the job. And I think the thing with Gallup, we gave him the job because he has been here. He's the veteran guy. We paid him the money. He's going to recover, and he just never did. He never recovered from that knee injury.
Yeah. Bryan, which set of defensive ends are better? This year's Marshawn Nealon and Sam Williams, or last year's Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler?
That's a great question.
Dorrance is a 9-sack guy. You can say what you want about his 9 sacks, but he got him. You know, possibly not the best run game guy in the world. Dante Fowler, explosion, hits, quarterback pressures. Probably a much better pass rusher than Dorrance, but neither one of those guys make you too confident in the run game. But Marshawn Nealon, we know he's a run game guy, super explosive, just not necessarily a pass rusher. And Sam Williams got all the tools, but can he put it all together? Which one of these guys? Which group is better, Brian?
Armstrong should. You look at Williams. Williams should have Armstrong's numbers. He should be the guy. Williams has the ability to have 9 sacks, but you can't rely on him.
Sure,
you can't rely on him, and that's been a problem. He's got to get over the unreliability factor that you have of like, okay, I'm putting you in on 3rd down. Wait a minute, you just got hands to the face. What'd you do? Wait a minute. You lined up off sides, you rough the quarterback. You know, there's that fear of when you put him in a game that something great could happen, sack, fumble, something like that. But there's also the fear of it's 3rd and 7 and we're getting off the field and he just put his right hand in that tackle's face and pushed his helmet off. And now we're back on the field defending another drive. The pass rush from both Fowler and Armstrong are going to be hard to replace as far as backups go. That part will. I think you're going to get a much better run defender from Nealon. And I think that's going to make a difference. I think that you're going to have, if Sam can find a way to get those numbers that we talked about and then Nealon plays in a way where all of a sudden, like, they're not running the ball on the edge to his side. They're having to maybe go somewhere else. That group will be better. But I thought Fowler was vastly underrated as a player.
Sure.
I was always like, why is he not getting more work? Because he gets like 10, 12 snaps and he's got 3 pressures.
Sure.
And you're going, well, wait a minute, what are we doing here? So I think you're going to miss the depth of a pass rush with those two.
Yeah.
I don't know, but you're going to get a better run defender in Nealon, and I think that's going to make a big difference.
See, there's a lot of angles to this thing, Bryan Broaddus. Dorrance Armstrong got 9 sacks, but I feel like a lot of those were like cleanup sacks. Like a lot of those were just the quarterback. And this ain't me.
You just said it, didn't you? You just said that he got 9 sacks. You can't take that away from him, right?
Well, Brian, I said it to set the question up to make it difficult for you, but now I'm giving my point. I think a lot of those sacks were people running from Micah Parsons and Lawrence. And look, that ain't nothing to poo-poo on, because if I was playing in, I wouldn't have got 9 sacks, right? But Ken Marshawn, though. Ken Nealon.
He can't. Not right now, no.
And that's the point of this exercise, right? Can 2024, this year's, I think the future of Marshawn Nealon is bright. Yeah, I think is brighter than the three other guys that I'm mentioning here. Right. But I think his run game, right? Dorrance was bad in the run game, man. Dorrance was bad in the run game, and Dante was interested in the run game. But he was just more of a pass rushy guy. I think Marshawn's baseline floor, you hate floor and ceiling. I think Marshawn's right now run game with his athleticism, and the only thing that's holding Sam back is the mental stuff, the shoulder up stuff. And he's 1 year older, so is this something to shoot the dice on, right? I think they're even, but I think Fowler gives me the edge in that. Fowler, you can roll him out the bed right now. All right, go get him, and on 3rd downs, you good to go. But maybe Zimmer don't want that. Maybe Zimmer wants a more calculated approach. Maybe Zimmer doesn't want hero ball. Maybe Zimmer doesn't want you to cross over in the B gap whenever you want to. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. It's interesting, but maybe Marshawn Nealon or Sam being so solid at the right defensive end, maybe Micah doesn't have to play right defensive end so much. Because that's my theory. That's my Illuminati theory. Micah Parsons has to play right defensive end in a 4-point stance versus Trent Williams, because we can't trust Dorrance to do so, or Sam to do so, or Dante to do so. So in my mind, if you can get a solid run game guy in Marshawn to play some right defensive end for you, Sam to play some right defensive end for you, then maybe you can get even more pass rush from Micah lining up in A gap like we always wanted him to do.
Yeah, I trust Nealon to play better run defense for sure. I don't know about the pass rush stuff right now. I don't think he's a bendy guy.
No.
I'd like for him to prove me wrong. I don't think he's real bendy. Maybe the technique work will prove. I think it will. But, the quickness, the bendiness, you have to have some of those things to play in the NFL. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy ends up being a 3 technique, though, too.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me at all. They're going to well, let's put him inside. Let's move him quicker to the ball. Let's get him quicker where he could get to the ball quicker. Yeah. I wouldn't be one bit surprised because I don't know what now I'm going to do with Golston. Golston should be in this conversation of, to be honest with you, if Golston was good enough, they wouldn't have drafted Nealon. Am I right?
You're right. You're right. 100%.
I mean, there's things that they're having to cover that didn't work. There's things that they're having to cover for now. Okay. It's like, Golston I remember Golston coming out of Iowa.
Yeah.
Here I'm throwing more dirt on a player. I'm sorry, sir, if you're listening right now.
You're wrong.
But Iowa, you were a damn good run defender.
Yeah.
You were a damn good player. And here you just they're like trying to play it end. They're trying to play a tackle. They're trying to find a spot. But I felt like this is going to be Tank's replacement. This is a base left end guy that plays the run, doesn't let the ball get outside, those kinds of things.
I think a lot of these guys would benefit from their coach having a vision for them. I'm not saying nobody was being carried by one of the best pass rushers in the league or one of the best one of the best run down ends in the league. I'm not saying that nobody was carried by those guys, but there was a lot of plans for Tank and there was a lot of plans for Micah. There wasn't a vision for Chauncey. There's not a vision for some of these down the depth chart guys. So, unfortunately for Chauncey, maybe we have to change the vision again because it was like, all right, Chauncey, be 300 pounds now. And Chauncey would do it. And now he's there. And maybe now Zimmer's going to come in like, dog, why are you 300 pounds? And now Zimmer got to be like, all right, well, let's see if let's put you down to two. You know what I'm saying? It's just too much movement for him. And maybe that's to his detriment. But go ahead, bro.
This is why when you and I love the draft.
Yes, sir.
And this is why teams that have continuity with their coaching staffs always do better.
Yeah. They
win games, but they get players. And for a long time there, when things were turning around, when Will McClay was turning things around, during the Jason Garrett administration, he always talked about the right kind of guy and all that stuff like that. But what was there? The continuity.
Sure.
The continuity of the coaching staff. It was just constant, and it's so much easier to draft that way when you have that continuity. Now we have a switch in philosophy with the defensive coordinator. And then part of your coaching staff on defense leaves and goes with him. Now you have a bunch of new coaches. And maybe Mike Zimmer is hey, bring me whoever you got and I'll coach. He'll coach whoever he's got. He's got like Eric Scott, who you brought up. It was a great name last week that you brought up for a guy that, keep an eye on him. Nobody's talking about him. Yeah. But see, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of guys in this team, the Fahokos, the Scotts, the Wrights, all these guys, Mukwamu, all these guys that are previous staff drafted them. And now they're fighting uphill battles, but the coach is going to he's going to keep an open mind and try and do this. But what happens if this thing doesn't work?
Sure.
Now we got a whole new coaching staff again next year. And you and I are talking about, well, man, I guess Ben Johnson with the Lions, the coaches he brought in were, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And you're like going, okay, does it fit? Does this guy, does Sam Williams fit anymore? Does Golston fit anymore? That's the problem when you change a coaching staff. It changes how your team looks. And then you lose the continuity of the players don't fit. And when they don't fit, then it becomes a real problem because now you just keep chasing it in the draft and you have to keep turning that over because you don't have the right kind of player.
Yeah.
I hope we're not getting there. I really don't. I hope we're not getting there. I hope that I think Mike can take these guys.
Sure.
And because I've seen him do it. I saw him do it when Parcells came in and calling that 3-4 defense. He moved Glover. he moved all these guys.
But man, how unfair is that though? Just for us to throw all of our woes on Mike. Like, hey man, I know you here. It's a 1 year, 1 year deal, proven situation, man.
He accepts it though.
I mean, but what else can you do? I mean, hell, if they pay me some money, I'll accept it too. I'll be like, all right, Junior Fehoko, let's turn you into a star. I'll do it too. Yeah. But it's just, and normally
it's tough.
Normally, Bryan, when we do bring in new coaches or whatever, we typically favor them when we're drafting players and acquiring players, right? We're like, all right, cool. Yeah. Dan is here. We went and signed like 9 free agents that year to help Dan, and drafted mostly defense to help Dan. And it just seemed like Zimmer just, all right, we're gonna get all these offensive linemen and we'll give you Marshawn.
Here's they got Leofau.
And they got Leofau.
That was Paul Gunther, it's funny to watch Paul Gunther, who's one of Mike's trusted assistants. He was with him in Cincinnati, went on to coach the Raiders as a DC, came back at Minnesota. Mike's always been with Paul Gunther. He's always been kind of one of his guys. And I'm watching Paul Gunther. He's like a senior assistant in title. He's really coaching the linebackers. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, he's like, Coach, can we see that again? Coach, let's move the drill. Coach, and the linebacker coach, Curly's kind of like going, oh, okay, sure, here we go. Yeah. I'm sure he's going into McCarthy's office and saying, hey, Mike, I ain't coaching very much anymore.
That might be for the best though, Bryan Broaddus. I'll say it, you don't have to. That might be for the best.
Well, that's what we had happen when George Edwards came in. What did they do? Yeah, they kind of put guys to the side, and George, because what did do? Dan Quinn wanted this guy, wanted this guy, and that's the problem that you run into. But see, Leofau, Carson, they went and got. I'll say this about this Leofau, and he, him, Kendricks. You're starting to see, I just practices, dropping in coverage, hooks, zone, flat, carry. You're seeing that kind of stuff. And you said it a couple of shows ago. Hey, when's the last time you saw linebackers getting interceptions? Yeah. Like back in the day, linebackers always got interceptions. But maybe this Leofau, maybe this is going to be one of those ones, because I wanted that running back from USC, Lloyd, so bad. I wanted him. And
so, Bryan, let me ask you this though, right? So, we can say what we want about drafting Leofau and the value and all that kind of stuff, but what if he really turns into a dude? Is passing on a running back justified? Does that make you feel a little better?
Oh, no, absolutely. And I've been on these shows long enough with you, and I think you and I get along great when we're talking about this stuff. But to me, if you told me that Leofau is going to be a guy that, all of a sudden he's ended up with like 100 tackles and he's knocked down a bunch of balls, and maybe he's got 3 sacks because they brought him on some pressure stuff, as a rookie, I think he is so damn smart. Yeah. And that, you get him and Kendricks, and then Overshone. I mean, I've made mention of Overshone and how he's looked on those cords with Britt Brown, and they're getting him ready. I mean, he's going to be ready for training camp. I mean, they'll probably, work him in, but he looks like he's ready to start practicing. And, they might have, if they hit this one. Now, what I worry about though is the running game, though. If all of a sudden Lloyd goes off, he's at Green Bay, and now he's like rookie of the year candidate. Like he's looking like my guy Robinson with Atlanta, that kind of thing. He's catching balls. He's running through people, stuff like that. But that's what but they needed linebacker help, and they absolutely went and I think they might have got some with this kid. And you're right. If he ends up as that guy, man, I'll be more than happy to say, ooh, I had him too low. Shouldn't have had him in the 5th round. Should have had him higher on my board. Yeah.
I've been slowly but surely, like, nobody was more upset that we didn't draft a running back. Like I was upset, man.
No, I was there's no way you were more than me.
Oh, no man. Look, Jalen Wright, Marshawn Lloyd, like they were right there. And I'm just like, man, but
I know.
Just the more you just kind of think about it and just take your feelings and emotions out of it, right? What if you hit on this guy? What if you hit on Leofau? Yeah. And Leofau is a guy that they're already talking about he can be green dot guy because he knows what everybody's doing, right?
He knows everything, yeah.
Right now. And you just kind of put him under Kendricks and let Kendricks do the leader thing, and he's your bridge guy. And next year, Louis Fowler and Overshown take this thing over. I don't think you can be upset that you passed on running back. I can live with Rico Dowdle and Zeke and whoever if Louis Fowler's out there tearing stuff up at the linebacker position. I can live with that. And there's a lot of Cowboy fans that's calling Louis Fowler small. Like they'll see him, just in one of these interviews, they say he's small. He's 35 pounds bigger than Bell, Marquise Bell. He's the kid's huge, relatively speaking, right? Yeah. And he flies all over the place. And I think he's solid in the run game, and he blitzes a lot at Notre Dame, and coverage. The one linebacker that I loathe is Warner from San Fran. I love Fred Warner. He's my favorite player. But when you watch him versus the Cowboys, he's out there tearing up your run game. He's covering your running back. And then he turns around and covers Jake Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb. He's covering them, Brian, bro. He's dropping deep into this Tampa 2 stuff. He does everything. If Louis Fowler does that for you, that's more valuable than a running back. Just personally,
you're not wrong. The thing about in Fred Warner, when you watched him at BYU, the one thing he was doing was covering every. BYU was in games where they're in shootout games, and he was having to cover every time. And then downhill, tackler, sure, smart. There's something about these guys that translates. And we're not asking linebacker from directional school to come in here and be this kid played big time football at Notre Dame. He's played in some big games. He's played against Ohio State. He's played against USC. He's played against Miami's and Florida States and people like that. He's played against some big time competition, and he's come up good on all this. So to me, I'm not gonna say I'm cautiously optimistic, because that would mean I'm kind of nervous about it. Sure. I'm optimistic this guy can really help you. I really am. And trust me, I know you guys, you and Foots and Will were doing your draft coverage on it. Beautiful draft coverage you guys were doing. I'm sure you were screaming the same thing I was screaming about this running back. No, how do you pass? How do you pass? No. That's our opinion. Yeah. We'll see. But when we talk to those guys after the draft, man, coach, scout, everybody came into our little room there and was like, talk. They couldn't say enough great things about this. And I hope they're right about this guy, because I'll be the first to admit when I'm wrong, but man, they need linebacker help. And they think they got one with this kid.
I think it's telling that he's getting first team reps and Tyler Guyton is not, and Cooper Beebe is not. Like he's one of your rookies that's getting first team reps right now. So I think that means something to me. But
that means something. They've got him paired up with with Kendricks, and Kendricks is him and Kendricks read things so fast.
Sure.
It's like, okay, boom, out, boom, out. I mean, that's what we used to love about Sean Lee.
Yep.
Sean Lee could look at a formation and all of a sudden he would be to the point of attack before the guys even had a chance to react, because he knew the game that well.
Yeah. We'll see, Bryan Broaddus. Hey, man. Brian, let me ask you something. Voch asked this. Is Donovan Wilson playing deep safety for you? Is he playing deep halves?
No.
Bro, wait. It's Kuchar, bro. Listen, bro. But Donovan Wilson just got all this money, Bryan Broaddus. Mm-hmm. Donovan Wilson got paid. He got paid. Mm-hmm. And J-Ron Curse is not around. And, Marquise Bell played Will linebacker for you, so he's in the safety room now.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, is Donovan Wilson playing range at deep halves for you this year, Brian? And if not, what are you going to be doing?
I got my little sheet of roster notes and stuff right here.
What that say? What that say?
No. I think it's asking a lot.
Deep halves.
Donovan. Yes.
Coverage.
Yes. I think it's asking a lot of him to do that. I think that, we had this discussion on 105.3 The Fan talking about Luka Doncic.
Sure.
And talk about how he is a forward. Everything going forward is really good.
Yeah.
Everything backing up is he looks like he's a mummy. Yeah. It's like there's no foot quickness. There's no agility. I'm just saying this about Wilson. I think he is a really good forward player.
Oh, don't say nothing bad about Donovan Wilson, Bryan Broaddus. He just got paid, man. Can I take my picture out of this where it's just you? Let me see. Can I do this? Can I just make it just you? Go ahead, Bryan Broaddus. Tell me what you think about Donovan Wilson. Go ahead. Tell me what you think.
Hey, the listeners know what I think about. This is what Gavin Dawson does on our show. He'll say something really complimentary, and then he'll just backhand you on the next thing. I think Donovan Wilson's an extremely tough player. I think he's a downhill player. I think that he's one of these guys that when you watch him in the old scheme where you're able to play the single high stuff and you have to play down in the box, and the closer he is to the action, I think the better he is. I think when you put him in space and you put him deep and you have to make him turn and react and then go that way, I think there's issues there. And I think that they're going to try their best. This is where I like Wanye Thomas. Because I think Wanye Thomas can do the things, the interchangeable things that we talk about.
Come on back up here.
I think come on back.
Because I agree now.
Back on the other side.
Because I agree now.
I think that to me, with like I say, the Wanye Thomases, I think he's smart. Yeah. I think he's tough. I think he's aware. I think he sees things well. I think he finishes well. Yeah. You watch him play, and you get that look of with Wilson. I feel like you kind of got a one-dimensional player there. With Wanye, I feel like you got more in the bag. Yeah. To kind of to do some things with. Man, you're going to show me some
Georgia Tech tape. I actually went back. So this is something I've been doing on my channel, Bryan.
Oh, you've been watching these kids, huh?
I will go back.
Wanye Thomas?
Yes, sir.
Watching Wanye Thomas film? So
I will go back and watch their college film because that's when they were at their best. Like that's their superpowers, right? And sometimes it takes 2 years, 3 years for these guys to really be who they are. And this is Wanye's third year. So I was like, hey, let's go back to Georgia Tech and just see what he was doing. And he was a dude I was playing some deep halves. He was playing some deep middle, Bryan Broaddus. He was down in the box. He was moving around. He was coming up, thumping in the run game. I say, boy, that's some versatility right there, Bryan Broaddus. And look, I'm not poo-pooing on anybody because Donovan got paid. But this ain't Donovan Wilson's game. These things right here, this is not Donovan. This deep free coming down, replacing, coming back. That ain't Donovan's game right there.
No.
Ball skills, that ain't Donovan's game right there. And I don't want to poo-poo on nobody because I think he's a great tone setter. I think he's very physical. I think if you can find something for him to do, like roaming around the box, just making plays, blitzing quarterback, tackling, I think that's great. But that Wanye's doing right now, this ain't Donovan's game. And I think in Zimmer's new
linebacker, though, if you want to put Donovan down in the box and have him play, down and try and defend the run or carry a guy. I just think the further he is away from the line of scrimmage, the harder it is for him to play, because he has a hard time coming in. We all remember, what happened? Remember the Arizona game when they ran it was Connor. It was just, who was it? It was the back. I said Connor. Was it?
It was one of them kids. It was
But all of a sudden, the quarterback's running by him, the running back's running by him, and he just did not have the awareness.
Stanford wide receiver Michael something. They took the wide receiver, put him in the backfield, and they made Donovan Wilson run with him, and it was bad.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Michael Wilson.
You know what I'm talking. Yeah, Michael Wilson. It's a problem. Yeah. The closer he plays to the line of scrimmage, the better player he is, and maybe Zimmer will figure out some things for him. But man, I just don't see it. So now I just don't see the interchangeableness in him as a player.
So now, Bryan Broaddus, if you're trying to incorporate, it's coming. If we're trying to incorporate Donovan Wilson as like this linebacker type player, who do you take off the field to put Donovan at a linebacker spot? Do you take a linebacker off the field to make Donovan play linebacker? Do you take a nickel player off the field? Do you bring back big nickel, take Jordan Lewis off the field to cover to let Donovan Wilson come down and play? I think you got an issue here. I think you got a pickle. I think you got a round peg and a triangle hole, Bryan Broaddus, and I think that you might try to trade Donovan Wilson, get some compensation for him, man, because he don't fit.
That contract's not really
it ain't friendly.
It ain't friendly. I don't know. I mean, if you got really two good cover guys in Kendricks and Leofau, say they're playing, maybe the thing with Overshown, he's talking about playing as the will.
He's the will guy.
Yeah, but you got – and you're asking for Overshown to rush some as a pass rush guy because you saw it at Texas as a safety.
Yep. Yeah.
I think if they had to take a guy off the field, boy, people are just going to roast me for this one. I think they would take Overshown off the field if he's the starter.
Oh man, well, bro.
I know. You know what? Because if Leofau and Kendricks are playing in coverage, and I need them to lock guys up, Donovan Wilson can still give you some physicality, but can also cover down.
But see,
down
Brian,
low.
But see, now we're going back to 210-pound linebackers, 215-pound linebackers, Brian. Now
I ain't asking to do it every damn time.
That's real.
I'm just saying though, if you want to have a spot,
yeah.
I think the only way that Wilson plays, and we're going to see this summer,
Sure,
because he's going to get exposed in practices. He's going to get exposed covering some people. And they're going to say, okay, the only way we can play him is down in the box.
Sure.
That's the only way we can play him. So somebody's got to come off, Somebody's got to come off the field.
Hopefully Zimmer is creative enough to pull something off, but I just think Wanye is about to get a bunch of playing time. And, the head coach loves him. The DB coach loves him. Al Harris loves him. And he's a hard-working first guy in, last guy out, Bryan Broaddus. He here before us, Bryan Broaddus. You know what I'm saying? And I think Wanye is about to go. And I don't know what you do with Donovan.
I got to remember that waving the arm thing.
Her rough. Hey, man. Now, I don't know what you do with Donovan, but he ain't going to be the deep halves guy. So
no, he's not.
Yeah.
He's not.
Bryan Broaddus. Listen, Brian.
By the way, my mom loves when you say Bryan Broaddus all the time.
It's how I know you. I got one more for you, man.
Okay, man.
What happens with Clark? What happens with Damone Clark? Like, he's a guy that, had 100 and some tackles for you last year, played every snap. He's, the been in the system's not a thing because it's a new system here, but he's a guy that's been around. But we got all these new guys, all these young guys, all this young talent, and we got your Mike Leader guy. So, Overshown says that Clark is moving to Sam linebacker. We don't even know what that means just yet. So, what's going to happen with Damone Clark? You just can't bench him, can you?
No, I think that the problem, and I could say this because I'm an LSU guy, we play really hard. Sometimes we really don't know what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? We things happen really fast to us. And do we read that the right way? Did we see it the right way? See, this is why guys like Leofau, Kendricks, and those guys play, because they see Sean Lee, Leighton Vander Esch, Dat Wynn, Dexter Coakley.
Processing.
Fast.
Yeah.
Fast. Like, okay, I'm not going to let you get to me. I'm going to boom, downhill, tackle. Boop, I'm going to be over here, Phil. Boop, boop, boop. I see things so fast and so quick. Yeah. I think things happen to Clark really fast. And, and he was a much better player when he was on the field with Leighton Vander Esch, because Leighton was able to kind of like, okay, man, here we go, over here. This is where we're going, over here,
Yeah.
And I think that helped. Roy Williams, the safety, was the same way with Darren Woodson. Once Darren Woodson left, Roy Williams couldn't process it fast enough.
Yeah.
Hell of a player, knock you out, that kind of guy. Clark is that ability too, but if you don't process fast enough, it's going to be a problem for you to play. And what they did last year, Dan backed him up, like didn't put him close line, backed him up a little bit more. So he was able to kind of like have a little time to see what was going on and then react, and it helped him. I think it was the Commanders game. He did that. The Commanders game that was played here. And he had a bunch of plays. Sometimes I lose track of the games, but It was that kind of thing. But as LSU guys, we don't always process fast enough. Yeah. And that's a problem.
Hey, it'll be a very interesting
camp. You see that? What's your take on that?
Clark, I think Clark gets lost, and I think Clark tries to overcompensate for being lost by guessing. And sometimes when you guess, you get burned. You end up so out of position. It's like I would almost rather, because Micah Parsons isn't a great processor, but he's fast. Right. So he may see it late, but he'll at least get over there. I think Clark is a really good athlete, and if he's I don't mind, just be late. Just be a tad bit late, but don't guess and guess wrong, because now you way out of the picture. And don't try to overcompensate for your guessing wrong, because now to play way over there and you over there with Aaron Andrews and stuff. So I think with Clark, it's like confidence, and he just has to identify better. And that could come could come with film, or something that could benefit him is if Kendrick's on the field doing what Sean Lee did, doing what Van Der Esch. Hey, counter, buck sweep. Pinnacle, if he's calling things out, then maybe Clark could be better. But if Clark has to be the brains of the operation, we're all screwed.
See, you made a great point too, because of the thing with Clark when he would guess and then miss, that put Bell in some horrible spots. Because Bell was now undersized and having to like cover gaps, see, Van Der Esch used to be able to, when Clark would make a mistake, Van Der Esch was there, or Sean Lee. Those guys were able to cover for guys that made mistakes.
Sure.
They're able to like, okay, I got to slow play this thing because this rookie just ran right out of the, ran right out like the Aaron Andrews, just like you said.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe these guys help Clark. Like I say, he's going to give you everything he has, and I sound like I'm being nice about it. Because he is a good-looking player. Yeah. I mean, he has the ability. I just don't know if the process clicks fast enough for him at that linebacker spot.
There's a lot of dudes in that room too, man. Overshown's coming, Leofau's coming, Kendricks is coming, man. It's some toughness in that room.
It's like a lot like that tight end room. Yeah, a lot of bodies in that thing. Yeah, a lot of bodies.
I will not hold you up from your Love of the Star podcast that you're about to go film. Y'all go check out Bryan Broaddus and Bobby Belt, Love of the Star. 105.3 The Fan, G-Bag Nation, DallasCowboys.com, and BRY getting Broaddus. We're doing okay. All right. I'll catch y'all next time, man. Next Friday, and we'll see y'all then. Peace.